Guys, welcome to the first podcast for Battlefield Banter. We're your hosts, Cody Black, and I'm here with my partner, Big John Sutton. We're very excited to do this. Got some things lined up for the future. What's one of the main reasons you want to do the podcast?
One of the main reasons was, I like watching podcasts. I watch them on YouTube all the time, but it's a lot of the same guys in the same community, just going on each other's podcasts. And it's really kind of specialized on that kind of that special operations command or very high senior level command. So just wanted to have a place where soldiers from any area within an organization would have a platform to come on and tell their story or experience that they had within the military, and just have an area where we could collect all those different stories.
Tell you, John, when you brought this idea up, I couldn't have been more excited. There's so much stuff out there that you need to hear, and a good way to keep stories alive and it's not forgotten. Also gives us a chance to discuss what's currently going on in the military and the differences until we've experienced in different branches along the way. Yeah, I'm real excited.
Yep, and we're both, I've been retired for about 4 years now, and you're entering that phase of your life right now. So it's just a way to keep connected to the community and allow everybody else to stay connected in the community. So really excited about the opportunity here.
I think by us interviewing this next guest, it should kind of show what we're looking for, and it's not just active duty. This next guy, he was active duty and National Guard. He served about 10 years on active duty, and the last 10 as National Guard in the state of Texas. He's got some really great stories and a different aspect between active duty and National Guard he'll be able to share with him. And that guy is Corye. Hey, Big John Sutton, I'm excited, man. We got our next guest for our podcast here, and let me tell you, this guy is an absolute legend. A legend in the Cat Scout world, a legend with the Texas National Guard. He's done 20 years retiring. He's heard, and you are not the father more than any participant on the Maury Pulpit show. I mean, just an absolute legend, Corey Black. Hey, welcome to the podcast, Corey. How you doing?
Better after that intro, I guess.
Yeah, hey, man. Hey, we're glad to have you. And we talked to you a little bit before the podcast, and you got some pretty interesting stories. Go ahead and tell us what you've done over the last, I don't know, say 5 years. You were active duty, right? Then you went National Guard, but you've been doing some pretty cool stuff recently with the National Guard. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Hey, Corey, real quick, just try to brain dump the hype man video.
Yeah.
He sets an unrealistic bar every time. So
that was a good intro.
The only part he got right was probably that you are not the father thing, because I still think there might be some illegitimate children in Colorado.
You cannot edit that out.
But, well, I mean, I guess going back to 2017, so I got in the National Guard. I got out of active duty in 2013, got the National Guard. And about 2017 is when Harvey hit down at Houston. So I was down in Harvey, rolling off through Katy and Beaumont, Orange, Spring. I lived out of a Walmart parking lot, service center parking lot for 2 weeks. Immediately after that, 5 months later, went to Egypt in 2018, started January to October. Interesting first deployment. I got combat pay, but it wasn't a combat deployment. It was still rather interesting what took place over there. Came back from that, had 2019, did a guest OC at JRTC June of 19. Got ready to go, coming back from that, came back in 2020, I was getting ready to go to Europe with my wife, and the day we were supposed to leave was the day they locked down the states for COVID. And about a week after that, I was called up on orders for COVID. Went on COVID, stayed on that from April to December of 2020. Got called up 2021 for the Washington, D.C., the presidential riot thing.
Oh, man, I bet that was a blast.
And, well, unfortunately, the day we were leaving, my body decided to give me a kidney stone for the first time in my life. And so, yeah, I had to stay at the armory 2 weeks. basically doing nothing. But came off of that, and I was 21, went down the border, living in 18-wheeler trailers, and then they put us in tents and did that for 3 years, up until, well, not almost 3 years, up until June of this year. And that's when I got off and came back to the real world. And that's what I've been doing for the past 6 years.
So, Corey, Cody and I both did 20 years in the active Army. You did time in the active Army and National Guard. There's always stuff going back and forth, perhaps giving back and forth between not just the different branches, but between active, National Guard, and Reserve. What is the kind of the biggest difference and pros and cons of active duty and the National Guard from your experience?
I'll say like a pro for active duty is you're constantly getting to train. You're constantly getting to train, get ready for that mission. There's no pause. Like you don't have to put a bookmark in, lose your spot, and you got to come back and try to reevaluate. And that's really a pro for active duty. Con for active duty for me was they burned me out. I went to Iraq October 06 to January 08, then May of 09 to May 10, then May of 11 to May 12, and I was burnt. I was done. They had told us before I even got back from Afghanistan that they're like, hey, we're going to Kosovo. I was like, I know Kosovo's not hard, but I'm tired. I need some break. That's really the con for active duty, was just that burnout process. The pro for National Guard for me is just the maturity level of the soldiers. The soldiers that I've worked with, and not only that, but the NCOs that were prior service that came over. Some of the best NCOs I've worked with. But the soldiers not only have to manage that military life, but they have to manage that civilian side as well. And so they're already having to hold down a job, take care of a family, do everything else. And then they also have to do that military side. And a lot of them have been out in the world a lot longer than an 18-year-old private straight and active duty. Like they have a maturity level that I think is leaps and bounds above what you would get in active duty. Not putting down those soldiers in active duty, because I was one, but there is just a certain level more of, feel like they can handle a little bit more pressure, a little bit more stress, because they've already had to do it out in the real world.
I would not have guessed that would have been a takeaway. I would have guessed the exact opposite.
No, it's crazy. And that's the thing, right? Is I've gotten to be a part of great units, and the soldiers I've worked with on both sides were great. They were amazing. But there is that little bit of in between there, that little bit of difference that I think really sets the soldiers that are on National Guard level just a little bit above. And it's not like the active duty soldiers ain't like some of the best dudes that I've ever worked with, because they are. But it's just that little bit of maturity level that they can take that extra stress. You can push them a little further and they're not going to break. They're not going to just sort of ball up. And because I had some in active duty, they balled up on me. They went and sat in the porta john and just cried. And I was like, oh, come on. Like, you can do this. I promise. That's really different.
Is that the same for the officers, or do you feel there's a vast difference there?
I've worked with some good officers. I've worked with some really good officers. I've worked with some absolute dirtbags. That's just, I would say that more dirtbags in the National Guard, more dirtbag officers in the National Guard, we had a few that were told that they were on orders to go to COVID, and they were like, nope, and put in their resignation letters and just left everybody high and dry. There's some that they just don't have that. It's just a standoffish thing. Like some of the best officers I worked with were in active duty, but I had some really good ones here. They're just not at the level. They're young officers, so they're not at the level to be able to make those changes. And so they're sitting down here and they're just getting hammered on by officers that shouldn't even be in the positions they're in. And it sucks. It really does. I think I've seen a vast change. I know y'all probably have in the past 20 years. Vast change in the level of officers that we have. It's not like when I got in, like every officer I had was hot. Like he was on the spot, ready to go. Now, there's been a decline, and they keep on sending me these essays or these surveys I don't know who it is, but they'll send me a survey, like, how are we doing our officers? And finally I took one. I said, your officers you're sending out are incompetent. You need to do better. And I sent it back in. And they're like, we'll go. I was like, I'm getting out. Well, I was like, I'm getting out. I'm retiring. Like, what are they going to do to me? So,
Now,
yeah, that's right.
I'll tell you, we see the same thing. I've seen the same thing in the active duty side. Only it's not just officers, it's NCOs too. Just a bunch of incompetent, young people. And I'm not saying that. I mean, I'm saying it in a bad way, but a lot has to do with the failures of our previous leaderships. They've gotten real political. They've fallen into the political aspects of the government, and it in return has produced just flat out terrible leadership throughout the organization, which in return we're producing, soldiers who are subpar. And I had this long discussion with my wife yesterday. We're in a critical moment in America right now with the elections going, and we're going to dig into some of that stuff with you here in a little bit, talk about the border a little bit. But what these people don't understand is, we're talking about everybody's talking about, me, the future, what's it going to entail for me? People better wake up and start asking themselves, what's it mean for kids? If we can't get people in the military, right, because of incompetent leadership that don't know how to train, do not know how to have discipline, do not know how to fix and solve problems, nobody's going to join, which in return is going to have my children, John Sutton's children, your children, forced to go in the military. That's what's going to happen. And then the American people need to wake up and start realizing.
Well, I'll put it this way. There's a story from the border. So we had 4 days off every month, right? And so I was first squad leader. Our platoon was like 60 deep. We had 2 squads. I was first squad leader, and then we had a second squad leader, platoon sergeant, so forth. Well, for second squad leader and platoon sergeant, they were both on their 4 days. So it was me. Well, me and the LT. And we had a guy that needed to go to air assault. So LT's like, hey, I'm going to take him to DFW because that's where he flew out of. So it's an 8-hour drive. I'm taking him to DFW. He's like, I'll be back tomorrow. I was like, cool, sir. No problems. Let me know when you get back. Next day rolls around. Not back. I called him that night. I was like, hey, where you at, sir? He goes, hey, I got tired. I'm going to be I'm staying with my family because they live in San Antonio. I was like, all right, cool. No problem, sir. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay, our shift starts in 3 days. Called him the next day because he hadn't come back. Hey, sir, where are you? Oh, I'm still here. I got caught up. I'll do that. And like, he didn't get back until our first day of shift that night. So it was like 4 days. So I was at the meetings with the leadership. I was doing everything that needed to be done for the platoon. And this lieutenant is off. And I confronted him. Like, I'll give you the story. He got back. I was like, hey, sir, come see me. I need to talk to you. So this is where I live in 18-minute trailers. And he came and see me. I said, let's go over to the CO's office. And we went in, and I went and actually sat around in the CO's chair because the CO wasn't there. And he was on the other side desk. I was like, sir, if you ever leave me like that again, I was like, I will drag your dick in the dirt. I said, I don't care. I said, if I was a platoon sergeant, if this was this actual line platoon and I was a platoon sergeant, that dude would have beat you black and blue because you effectively abandoned your post of where you needed to be.
Oh, yeah.
I said, don't ever do it again. I said,
let me tell you, and Big John will tell you this, we held our lieutenants accountable.
Yeah.
Every one of them, we were held accountable. And they had some sort of fear towards us, just a little bit. I mean, we respected their rank, but they had some sort of fear. But, the issue I see is, the good NCOs, and I'm not saying, I was the best or Big J was the best or any of our previous people were the best, but they're better than what we have now. And a lot had to do with we faced adversity. We knew how to handle adversity. Our leadership forced us to handle adversity. We had standards and we met the standard. So now, you look at, I mean, this is not just with the military. This is across the board in America today. The standards keep changing for people to meet at the easiest level possible. And then, and it's all through the military ranks now too.
We had good officers, the officers that you're referring to, Cody, and it worked out well because we had a really good partnership.
Yeah.
With those officers. But going back to the me, I know there's probably always been a career progression map, but I feel like early on in my career, it became a big emphasis in the Army to develop these career paths. It became every, part of your quarterly or monthly counselings, and became part of your counseling packets. All these things these boxes you really had to check in order to get promoted. And we really started to focus because now there was a clearly defined map, black and white, on what boxes we needed to check in order to get promoted. And we started focusing on those individual boxes and really focusing on promoting those people that can check all those boxes instead of those leaders that were developing teams that were dealing with those hardships and training and mentoring and promoting those individuals. I mean, and we even see that now on the civilian side, where you've got these guys who check a lot of boxes and they're great individual contributors, but they can't lead a unit or a team.
Yeah, I can't lead
No,
a horse to water.
I'll put it this way, like I'm about to stroke my brother's ego here, so
Oh,
God
shit,
forbid.
watch out now. Here we go.
I've always said, and I've always sung his praises, which I know this is the wrong thing to say, but I always thought like he honestly, like, because you knew him. Here's the thing, you knew my brother better than I did when we were both in. We saw, I don't know how many times we see each other, maybe
Handful.
7 times.
Yeah, it wasn't
7 times in 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, but I was always proud of it because I saw him get the Audi merger. I saw him do what he had to do. I always said if he had ever, if I don't know why he decided to go sort of half dark side as warrant officer, but whatever.
Dumb.
But I always said he could have been, he could have been a sergeant major of the Army. He had that mentality, right? I've always said at my soldiers, they always go your brother's in the Army. I'm like, yeah, he's warrant officer. I go, and he was NCO first. I'm a mediocre NCO versus compared to him. He is a standard for me, right? And look, stop laughing. I told you I was going to say this, and I don't like doing it because I know how you are. But I always thought, right, it's not about me. It's about my people, right? So I never tried to put myself before them. And when I got off active duty, I'm more focused on my personal life. And so I wasn't really focused on my military career as a National Guard. All right, I get it. But I got to deal with soldiers every day when I was on duty. And it was always about making them better for me. It was never about putting myself above anybody else. It's not about that me. Down the border, I had it started off as all scouts. But then as the mission kept going, people got off mission, more people come on. It was more non-combat MOS. Ukraine happens, Israel happens, all this stuff starts happening. But I get with my platoon sergeant, who he's a great NCO, but I got with him, and it was I told him, I was like, look, I don't know if you want to do this or not, but I feel like we should really start teaching the non-combat MOSs combat tactics. We need to start teaching them everything we can, because here's the thing, they're not going to get this at their unit. If we can give it to them here, it may give them a little bit of something when the next war kicks off, that they can have. And they hated me for it for a little bit. They hated me for it because I was taking away some of their free time. But I was like, y'all don't understand. I'm not going to be here. Sergeant Walker, the platoon sergeant, isn't going to be here. Sergeant Gauthier, the other squad leader, he's not going to be here. We're all in the teens. We're all looking at the door. It's opening. We're about to shut it behind us. Y'all are the next generation. Y'all need to know this stuff. I know it's not your job, but you should still have this training, right? So it was always, for me, it was always about making them better than trying to get myself promoted, trying to make myself look good. I didn't want any of that. I didn't care. I got told on the border I was going to do swiftwater training, and we were getting ready to leave. And I got told on the border, they're like, hey, why are you here? I was like, going into training. They're like, you're supposed to be at ALC. I was like, what? They're like, yeah, your ALC's in a day. I was like, well, nobody told me. They're like, well, are you going to go? I was like, Do you think I got an essay in my back pocket for that welcome essay ready to go? You think I got all my stuff? Like, no, y'all should have told me this long before a day. And then the CO and the XO, after I got back, called me in. They're like, hey, we really think you should go. And I was like, sir, I literally have 2 years maybe. I said, all you're doing is wasting a slot on me. I said, there are plenty of good young NCOs that are here. I trained them. They were my Joes. Give the slot to one of those guys. That's your future. I'm not your future. I'm the past. I'm gone. I'll see y'all later. But you need to get these new guys, these young NCOs trained up. Give him the AOC slot. He deserves it. He needs to go because you're just going to waste it on me. And that's how I feel about it. Like, it was more about making sure that the guys were good. And so, like, when I do see that me stuff, like, it's just disappointing.
Well, yeah,
I don't like.
I used to tell my guys, like, my success is based off their success. If they're not successful, I'm not successful. And I think, John can attest to this too. I mean, that was the same way we felt about our lieutenant. Because if they failed, I failed. Because we were the most experienced in that platoon. And we were supposed to share our knowledge with some of those guys. And some of them were a little more stubborn than others. But, I think at the end of the day, like our platoon leaders we had, well, me and Big J were together in Hawaii. He's absolutely right. They were outstanding. They followed and listened to us, and I don't think we had any real issues. But I think we've lost a lot of that. It's more me, and then we cater to a lot of different stuff. But
I think NCOs are hamstrung now.
yeah. It's terrible.
We've got a hand tied behind our back.
Well,
they want you to discipline them, but they won't let you discipline them the way they need discipline.
Oh yeah, no.
So I mean, I'll tell you right now, I was human. The private, I didn't mess up a lot, but there were certain times I missed just a spot shaving. But because a dude next to me forgot to shave half of his face, I got hemmed up, and I had to walk around with a 50 cal, my pretty little shaving kit everywhere I went. Didn't matter if I was in the chow hall, wherever. This thing, I had to go bedazzle this thing and put beautiful stuff all over it and load it up with rocks. I was walking around with a stupid cam because I missed like 2 to 3 hairs right here. But you know what? I never went out before looking at my face ever again. Like, I made sure that thing was clean. No, we can't do that now because it's humiliating soldiers. And it's like, it's not humiliating. It's teaching them a lesson. I've seen dudes with who was that guy back in the day who wore the giant clock? I don't remember his name.
Flavor Flav.
Flavor Flav. I've seen so many Flavor Flav clocks. And just like real actual chain, and they just hook this thing up to the freaking clock, and they'd be like, hey, what time is it? And this dude had to be like, Sergeant, it's blah, 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 blah. And he's like, good, glad you know what time it is.
Yeah.
But he was never late again.
Right.
Never late.
Or just making somebody carry around a plant to replace the oxygen that they're wasting. Yes. These are all methods that work.
Standing at the gate with a cardboard box that says, don't forget your ID card. I mean, I've seen that. I mean, I've seen some great stuff.
Afghanistan, my second time in Afghanistan, dude left his rifle leaned up on the tire of his truck. He was part of the brigade colonel's PSD. They went to roll out. He just jumped in the truck. Rifle gets ran over, broken in pieces. Next day, you see this dude in the chow hall, and he's got like 5 people that open the doors for him because they found these giant 2x4s, and they cut him down, and it was still twice the height of him, but then they put all the pieces and drilled all the pieces of the rifle onto it to make it look like a rifle, and he had to carry that with him around the fob in Afghanistan where he went. And it was just like, good Lord. I mean, down on a border, if I can't make you sweat the way I was made to sweat, I'm going to make you sweat another way. So I got real inventive with it. We got a 9/11 formation down there. So I think it was the first year that we had 9/11. So it was 2022. And one of my guys missed the formation. So I told his team leader, I said, you better go get him now. I was like, the longer he takes, the worse it's going to be. And so they finally got him. I was like, why'd you miss it? He was like, oh, sorry, I had my phone on silent. I was like, It's not my problem. That's your problem. This was put out 2 days ago. He goes, well, I didn't see it. I was like, how you not looking at your phone for 2 days? That's okay, though. And I said, so how many minutes? And if I'm wrong here, I'm wrong here. But I said, how many minutes did it take for 9/11? He goes, I want to say, I think it was like 114 minutes from the first plane hitting to that last tower going down. I said, I think 114 minutes. He goes, Roger, Sergeant. I said, well, guess what? You get to move 114 cases of water to our tent today. I said, there ain't doubles. You're moving one at a time. I said, you guys want to start going now because it's about to get hot. Because it would still get up to 100 in September down there. Took that boy 9 hours to move 114 cases of water from the water point to tent 2. But you know what? He was never late again. Never had that dude miss a single thing. And then people saw that, and then other NCOs started using my method of, hey, what did you do? Hey, you're moving 50 cases of water, go. And I was just like, yeah, see, you can still make people hurt, and you don't even got to make them really do anything physical. So,
Yeah.
that was a bit of a, sorry.
Yeah, you're good. But, obviously I know Cody now. What was Cody like growing up with? Was he the same type of a guy here, or was it a different Cody back in the day?
Hey, how much do you want me to tell? You want me to give it 75? You want me to give it 80? Like, what do you want here? Because, I mean, it's up to you.
Up to who?
It's up to you. How far do you want me to let me? I'll put it this way there, Mr. Sutton. I sat out my brother's truck doing my homework one morning in his girlfriend's driveway while he went in and tagged that thing out, and I'm just sitting out there. I was like, man, we're going to be late for school. We're going to be late for school. Like, I'm over here, but I was sort of thankful for the time. So I was like, I really need to get this homework done. Like, but he came out. But you want to know the best part? He came out, and I was like, why's your hair wet? The man had taken a shower after. He was like, wow.
And he has a thing. He has a thing with being dirty.
I know.
One of the first few months after I met him for the first time, we had to go out and grade an APFT. It's dark as shit. He has to take a crap in the middle of this APFT while we're grading it. He disappears for like 6 minutes. He shows back up, back in uniform, just soaking wet. He had found a shower and took a shower.
I hate being dirty. I told myself, if I got back from Iraq, I told myself then, I'm like, I will never feel dirty like that again.
No. I feel you. But no, let me finish up giving him some insight. All right, with normal brother situation, although it was different because we were so close in age. So when I was a freshman, he was a junior. And so I'll tell you right now, I don't think I would have had it as bad my freshman year if he hadn't have been around. Because, good Lord, the absolute, like the freshman hazing that I got, baseball, basketball, and I was the only freshman on the basketball team. Not saying I was that good. I was the only freshman. Our school was small, but he was a good brother. He would definitely, he drove, this idiot, I swear, this idiot, I've had to clean up messes for him. He came in one morning and he had and so back in high school, he had a yellow step-side Chevy. Loved this truck. Had the rim, had it all blacked out. The lights were all smoked, like the smoke coverings and everything. And one night, it was late. I hear this. So I was like, oh, no. And what happened? So I go out to the garage. This man has drove it in. I won't confirm whether he is drunk or not. But he drove in and drove into the garage and then hit the garage wall and then backed down a little bit. And like, I got him out of his truck. He's like, I love you, man. Like, thanks for coming up here. I miss you so much. And I put him to bed. And I don't remember if it was him or it was me, but I moved something in front of the wall. So my mother didn't even realize that had happened until we were probably 4 years out of the house. This happened probably 7 years. So 4 years after I was out, she finally moved something in her garage. I'm like, where'd this hole come from? You know? But no, he took care of me. I mean, basketball practice, my sophomore year, second day of basketball practice, got an elbow to the mouth and it knocked out. I had braces, so I pushed my braces down into my gums. It knocked one tooth out and it was getting held on by the brace. And I basically had to have 3 root canals and one of them hollowed out. I pulled the tooth out myself and I had to wear braces for an extra 8 months. I didn't know that this had happened until later, but apparently the guy who elbowed me had started laughing about it and like making fun of the fact that I left practice. And so apparently the man here, he ran right up to him and just jacked him right in the jaw and made that kid quit basketball right there. Like he never came back to the team. And I didn't know that until later on, but I mean, he made sure to know, he made sure to make fun of me, but he also made sure to protect me. So I can't say he was a horrible brother, but yes, he definitely made sure that I felt embarrassed quite a bit.
It's good to know he hasn't changed.
No, not at all. No, in my life, we just started. I've never seen Breaking Bad. I don't know if y'all have, but I've never seen Breaking. I just started watching last night with my wife. The person Hank, my wife goes, "That's your brother," and I go, "Hey, you're not wrong. That's definitely Cody right there."
I don't even know who Hank is.
Well, watch Breaking Bad, and you'll realize it's you to a T.
Yeah, I don't know. So now you get kind of going back here. You know, you were talking about the border. You know, and I think that's a critical part in this upcoming election and stuff, and just our everyday life. What are some of the issues you see down there? I mean, you were down there when Trump came and visited. I know.
Yeah,
you know,
I saw
that
his
was
hair through the window. Saw his hair
Pretty-
through the window. That's pretty cool.
pretty good experience. But you know, tell us some of the issues that are facing down there. I know me and you talked, and it's not really per se a lot of Mexican people come across, but
No,
others. Talk us through some of the, you know, some of the stuff you've
well,
seen and challenges you guys face down there.
well, the very first thing is Border Patrol's understaffed. They're understaffed. Like they don't. The area that we've stayed in for the first 2 years, Zapata, Texas. They had
Good fishing down there. Great fishing.
I
Man,
know.
I tell you, I caught some record bass down there. It's a phenomenal place. Trashy place.
Great
Trashy.
food.
Great food. You
Great
know,
food.
hey, I ate that food down there. I took so many dumps down there on that lake. It was pathetic. But hey, you're talking bass, you know,
How much do you know about your brown
10
movement from 10 years ago?
it's a good
Anyway,
place. Anyway, go on.
anyway, but we had 69 miles of waterfront from, and that's just the National Guard, 69 miles waterfront from Falcon Dam all the way up to SYT, San Ignacio. And it was 50 miles inland, so almost all the way to Hebronville. And we were running that with, I don't know how many, we had 300 and something people, you know, and we were still thin. And that border patrol station down there had, I don't know, maybe 25 agents. Wasn't a lot, but they were so understaffed. Like we were getting utilized quite a bit until this, you know, I would say understaffing there, but also, working together down there. And National Guard were never on the same page. Never on the same page. We were supposed to be under the DPS, Department of Public Safety, which is their high patrol down there for Texas. Yeah, no, I never worked with DPS. I worked with sheriffs or we worked with Border Patrol. But at a certain point, Border Patrol put in a new person in that station and they like basically cut all ties with us. They were basically getting, they like the agents, we would see them, be like, hey, what's going on? They're like, yeah, I've got the word, you know, not really to work with y'all anymore. And it's just like, wow, we're here to back you up. Like we're here to help. And so it got to a point where there was just no communication. And I think that's a big part of it too, because I don't think state and federal, especially with, and here, you know, I'll say it, with a Republican-led Texas and a Democratic-led United States, the two governments aren't going to work together because it doesn't benefit them politically. And I don't put that on either side. It's just the way the world is. I think that we never should have stopped actually building the Trump wall, if you want to call it the Trump wall. I don't think we should ever stop building that. For as much as people say like it wasn't effective, I think it actually was. Like where that stops, like that, it would filter people. So at the stop point of where the wall got stopped, people would just walk towards that and then they'd come in. So it would filter them to a certain area where we know where they would go. And it was thick enough they couldn't cut through it. But I mean, some of them could still climb it, but it wasn't crazy, right? And like the last thing, really, non-Mexican illegals, right? So there were Russians, there were Chinese, there were any certain number of South American countries, right? But there was a really good numbers of Russians and Chinese that were trying to come through there.
Hold up. I want the American people to hear this shit again. Say what you just said. Because
Well,
according to BNN, Biden News Network, and Camellia, KNN, Camellia News Network, we don't have that problem at the border. I want you to repeat this for the American people. Who is coming across the border?
hey, can I just,
Cody bringing you breaking news.
I just want to say this, that
Repeat who is coming across the border.
you're cutting off your liberal audience here, you're cutting off half your viewers.
The people need to hear the truth. Who is coming across the border?
It is not just Mexicans. There were Chinese, there were
Chinese,
Russian, there
Russian,
were South American.
South Americans.
It was a smorgasbord. There was Middle Eastern.
It's a melting pot down there is what you're saying. It's a melting pot.
Yeah. I mean,
Everybody.
we had people coming, there were Lebanon, Syria.
Listen to this, people. Syrian.
There was a couple of them. It was a little bit of everything. And it wasn't family units. It was
like Golden Corral buffet.
It was mostly military age males, some that would be coming across. But the other big thing though was, it's
Hey, they ain't gonna cover something important.
and
Hey, we're not politically correct on this podcast. You can go ahead and say Fort Hood.
look, just to interrupt my story, I vehemently disagree with any name changes. I'm not a racist man. I'm not a bigoted man, but I mean,
No, you're an American.
well, it's just, history's history. Let a sleeping dog lie. Don't keep on messing with stuff. But back to that though, yeah. I mean, there were trucks, there were Humvees getting stolen from the Laredo National Guard arcs, like Humvees, like just getting stolen. They had no clue what happened to them, and it's just like, I know what happened to them. It's not that hard to figure out, but a lot needs to happen down there. They need to solidify that. They actually need to build a wall. They need to, if we're going to fully stop the problem, it needs to be, I don't know. I don't necessarily want to say active duty, even though I know active duty army's down there, but it needs to be some combination of on the West Coast over in California. You got to have Marines, either whether it's Marine Reserves working with active Army or Army Reserves or anybody out of Fort Irwin, and just along that border. I mean, just New Mexico, Arizona, Texas, like. It's got to be somewhat militarized, or else you're never going to finish. You're never going to solve the problem because they don't. Border Patrol is understaffed. As much as they want to say that things are working, they're not working. It's gotten worse. I mean, shoot, I know y'all probably saw on the news. They're in Shelby Park. Like, we kicked the Federals out of Shelby Park, and we took that over in January. And we literally are putting Connex barriers as a wall with sea wire. The whole front of those Connexes that were shown in Shelby Park, it's six or seven strands of sea wire wide, and then it's just diving down into the water as well. There was a night when we were down there. It was actually the night. I'm pretty sure it was the night that we saw Trump. It was like 7 people trying to cross. They got swept away. We listened to them. We listened to them screaming until you couldn't till it stopped. And it was like 7 people. 2 of them made it across. The other 5, they found their bodies the next day, and like 2 of them were kids. And it's just like it doesn't need to happen, right? It could be stopped. If they had, I will delve into politics a little bit for you, brother, because I know you want me
Come
to.
on, dive in, my man, dive in.
If we had kept the Remain in Mexico policy, you would not be seeing what you're seeing today.
Say that again, one more time.
If we had kept the Remain in Mexico policy, you would not be seeing the issues we're seeing today.
Amen.
But that's what I got on the border. And it's just,
What was y'all's rules of engagement down?
If we are shot at, we can shoot back. If we see somebody that is life is being threatened, we can shoot because we're trying to protect life. If somebody's like getting beat with a baseball bat, yeah, you can shoot somebody. Now, if somebody's just got a gun and they're on the other side of the border, well, that's another thing. We could not shoot into Mexico. Couldn't shoot into Mexico. That, no go. But if somebody has a gun on our side, one of the coyotes, and you see him, but he's not pointing at you, can't shoot him. Right? If somebody's throwing rocks at you, is that enough to justify shooting someone? If they're big enough rocks, sure. But if they're just throwing like little, rocks like hand size, just throwing them, now you're probably going to get hemmed up, arrested for murder. But you had, all the boys had M4s. I was a SOG whenever I was doing it, and I wasn't doing other duties. So when I was SOG, I carried my the M17. So I had 2 mags, and they gave you 20 rounds per mag. So we had 40 rounds. The boys had 2 30-round mags, so they had 60 rounds. So, I mean, we had enough to protect ourselves. But if it was like if something really popped off and it got prolonged, we wouldn't have been able to sustain it. We would have had to, it's sad to say, but we would have had to have retreated on American soil.
So, Corey, just just moving forward just a little bit. I know you're in the process of retirement from the National Guard. What do you do on the civilian side?
So I work for a company called Lone Star Drone, and I'm the vice president of operations for Lone Star Drone. What we do is we have 3 different sides to it. We have our sales, we have survey side, and then we have marketing and marketing media. And so my job is really to just keep everything organized. Keep good Lord, I lost train of thought. I'm trying to figure out the word here. What's the word? Schedule. I'm sorry. I couldn't think of the word schedule. Anyway, scheduling my guys, making sure that, don't shake your head at me. Schedule my pilots for their flights. I'm making sure that airspace is clear, and that we don't have any FAA restrictions. Making sure that my sales guys they have their tickets, everything's going good with them. Making sure they're getting where they need to be. Ordering drones, make sure our drones are getting shipped from the dealers, everything like that. We got a good little operation. The guy that I work for, he was actually one of my soldiers, and he started this company, and he brought me on. We've currently done business right now in 17 states. 17 states, Switzerland, India, and then Australia is where we've done business, and it's only growing. The drone industry it's projected to be a $60 billion industry by the end of this year. So, I mean, and you can see the uses in Ukraine. I mean, insane what they can do with them in Ukraine. I would love to say that I've been selling Ukraine, but I haven't. I wish I could, but unfortunately there's rules and regulations that go into all.
So you handle a lot of sales?
Me personally, no. Like right now I got one thing that I'm handling, but I have a sales team, and there's a commercial sales team, and then there's a LEO first responder sales team. So my commercial guys, they're selling roofing, construction, oil and gas industry, things like that. Because the roofing industry has really switched to a drone model as well. Like there's a lot of flying a drone. If it's just there's not damage, you just look to see if anything's wrong with it. A lot of roofers will take their drone up, do the inspection on the roof. All right. If they see something they don't like, then they can get up on the roof. But if they don't have to, they'll absolutely just fly the drone. my law enforcement, first responder side, he's doing a lot with, so we sell a drone. It's an American drone called, from Teledyne FLIR called the Cyrus. And so with this defense bill that's going on right now, they've added the ban on DJI, and they're trying to ban DJI and Autel from any law enforcement first responders for the states. And so this Cyrus that we sell, that's one of our bread and butters, because it is an American drone that law enforcement can buy, that they don't have to worry about. We gotta junk this, 2 months from now. And so that's where that's at. But I mean, survey side's good money too. I mean, fly a drone over 500 acres, and you're looking at 20,000 or upwards.
We're in the wrong business, Big J. We're in the wrong business.
Is your drone, is it the data it's collecting, is it doing photogrammetry, or is it utilizing LiDAR?
So we got LiDAR, we got a photogrammetry, we have the thermal, and we did, I can't tell you who it was, but we did we did an international company's cold site as one of their cold storage warehouses, and they were losing, the temperature kept going up. And so we actually went in with the Cyrus and was able to determine, based off the thermal imaging that we got, where they were losing or where the heat was coming in and where they were losing cool. And so it was pretty neat. But yeah, our bread and butter is LiDAR ortho. It's the LiDAR technology is pretty impressive. I sit there, I'm still in awe of it. I love watching it get rendered and everything like that. But LiDAR ortho, and then photogrammetry, like you said. And then we also a lot of people just want hey, we got 300 acres, but we want to do some photo and video of it. Think about selling it. All right, we'll do that for you. No problem. Here you go. It's just, it's impressive at what they can do. And we actually have a power lines. A lot of people don't know it, but with power lines, unless you want to send somebody up a pole or have somebody hang outside a helicopter and try to test these lines, that's the only way you're going to get it done. Well, with the drones now, there's an adapter from LineGuard that does this, basically came over and it sits, let me turn my hand, it sits on the line like this, and that drone will sit there and let it sit, and it tests those power lines. And so you don't even have to send anybody up anymore, risking somebody's life. You can actually use the drone. And so it's amazing stuff that's going on.
It is. My last 2 years in the Army, I was actually evaluating LiDAR for the Army and how it could be implemented. And then when I retired, I went and worked for one of the bigger LiDAR companies. But one of the technologies that I had come across while I was interacting in that environment was, there was another company that they're based out of the Tampa, Florida area, a company called Spec Ops. But they had a little microwave sensor that could go through 6 inches of concrete, rubble, detect heartbeat, respiratory, and things like that. And I was trying to get both companies to come to an agreement to integrate software. So as we're doing LiDAR, we could pinpoint where potential victims were, if it was a hurricane, any sort of natural disaster, or even a combat environment. So it's a lot of crazy improvements going on that technology right now.
I'll tell you right now, the drone technology can be so useful, especially with this hurricane that just happened. Oh my goodness! The applications that it can be used for down there. I was talking to my buddy, who's my boss. So I was talking to him, and I was like, dude, I wouldn't even charge anybody anything. I just love to go down there and use these drones in Florida and Georgia and just go, just use the capabilities we have. But we did a job on the University of Baylor. So Baylor is powered a lot by steam. So they have these underground steam lines, and they were losing, and they were like, man, we got a lot of hot spots. People are talking, there's craziness going on. And so we went down there at night with the thermal, got down there, and when we got back, the data, the video that was collected, the thermal, it was amazing, because you could see the pipes under the concrete, and then you could see the junction areas. So it'd go from a pipe to a square, and then you could see the pipe go around, and it was all thermal. And you could tell, so the Cyrus will tell you okay, this area right here is 87 degrees surface temperature. 2 feet away from it, there's the leak, and it's almost 200 degrees surface temperature. That's how much difference it was, but that's how crazy and advanced the capabilities are. It's pretty amazing.
It is.
Do y'all have a lot of veterans that work there? I mean, you said it was veteran owned. I mean, I know you're there. I mean,
Yeah, so my buddy who owns it, Drew Smith, he's Army. He was Army veteran. There's me, and then one of our other VPs, Rodney, he was in the Navy. And then we have another person there that works there. She was in the Air Force. And I always give her crap about it. I'm like, I'm sorry, the office isn't nice enough for you. I know that you expect more. But yeah, I mean, there's quite a bit. And then the rest of them are not veterans, but they're good dudes, like either law enforcement oriented families or whatever it may be. But one of my lead sales guys for law enforcement, first responders, his dad just retired as a chief of police down in Texas. And so like he loves, like, dude's a dog. Like, and when I say dog, like, he's a dog. Like, that boy, he sniffs a cell, he ain't gonna stop till he gets it. And when I sent in I just got him back from Michigan. He sold us like 4 of the Cyruses with a couple other little small drones. It ended up being like almost a $70,000 sale. And so it's just, I mean, you got those people like that. They're just,
yeah, well, we need some more dogs in this world. But I know we talked about retiring, and you know, you're out there in a position in a company to see a lot of people coming in. What's some advice you got people that are just getting out of the Army? What do you guys look for, or not just Army, but military? What are some of the things you guys are looking for during interviews? I know, and I'm asking this because me coming out doing 20 years, I had no idea what to expect. I was kind of shocked in some of the stuff, but you know, you go to an army like promotion board, a lot different than a job interview. So, you know, what's some of the stuff you expect to see from these guys and hear, and how do you, what advice you have for them to transition, or, you know, be able to take their military experiences and put that into civilian terms?
well, for me, I would say it as, number one thing is don't see it as a us versus them. So like when we were all active duty, right? It was a us versus them. You know, I'm in the Army, that's a civilian. This is me, this is them, right? And then it's just what we did. Right? Like, look at these dirt bags out here walking down the street, don't even know. Don't bring that look to it, right? Because now you are one of them. You're yes, you were in the military, but you're not anymore. Now that doesn't mean lose your mind and forget all discipline and everything else like that. No, keep your discipline, but like when you come for an interview, don't look at it as an adversarial thing. It's not, you're not adversaries with the person that's interviewing you. You're looking to get hired, right? So, just go there and be yourself. Try to, I guess, almost keep the discipline and everything else that the Army gave you, but sort of be yourself before you became the guy that was like, look at those dirt bags over there. Right out of high school, but with discipline, right? So
yeah, that's something I've really showed that.
Trust me,
big time. Hey, John Sutton saved my big John Sutton has saved my ass in the Army, and he continues to save it every day in the civilian world.
Oh, I can imagine, because you have no filter.
No filter.
You have no filter.
Zero.
Like,
None. Non-existent.
No, absolutely not. Like, this is the thing I've learned, right? It's like, and my wife helped me out a lot with this, Kate. She's told me, she's like, you need to realize what you're saying in your head before you actually say it. Now, like, what do you mean? She goes, babe, like, I can't take you anywhere. Like, you'll randomly, like, she's like, you realize you just said whatever over here to this person. And I'm like, oh, I didn't even realize I said that. She's like, exactly. You need to think more about what you say. Right. So like, I have tried to filter myself, especially being where I'm at now, because I've technically been like for me, I don't look at myself, technically been a civilian since like 2013 when I got out of active duty. So I've had to like, from working at HEB to what I do now, like I've had to like, there's been some times where I'm picturing myself murdering someone, but they're standing in front of me and I have to not murder them. But it's like, I want to put them I want to put them in a rear naked choke and just not let go.
Oh,
But
yeah.
you have to sort of keep it not, you got to just let it be. And so I would say, what?
No, I was gonna
You
say, I
said,
think within the first month I was at my place, I'd done with drill sergeant mold on somebody that was, pretty high up in the organization. Like, I just have this mentality of, when something should get done, it should get done. There should be no waiting. There's a standard. You got to meet the standard. And till this day, I probably got a little better, not much, a little better. But
You're getting
it's
you're
it's the
getting better. It's it's
old
no
people
different
problem.
for you. It's no different. It's just like if you were deployed, and we're entering a different phase of the war, and the rules of engagement change. Initially, for the first few months, first few weeks, you're going to have some things that happen, and that's basically what it's been like for Cody.
yeah,
The rules of engagement have shifted for him as he's retired here, and there's been a few incidents, but it's getting better. It's getting better.
It's
here's my thing.
It's rough, but it's getting there.
This man acts like he just retired. I like, the dude's had a mullet and a beard for the last few years I've known him.
I'm not
like,
sure what he's been doing the last 4 or 5 years.
no. I'm like, I thought he was still in. And he's like, hey, I'm retiring tomorrow. I was like, how'd you pull that off? Like, really? Like, you're retiring looking like that? Like, dirtbag. Like, yeah, I got a pedo stash, but you're over here rocking a homeless bum look. And I mean, it was hard for me. It was hard for me when I got out because I went right into college. I went right into A&M, and it was hard for me. Not the class part, not the scheduling, because having a class, having that rigidity to your structure, that helped out a lot. Because I think where a lot of veterans fail is they get out of the Army and then they lose structure, and so then they struggle without structure, because we were basic training. It breaks you down and it builds you back up into a person who self-sufficient, but is also very reliant upon that structure. And so I realized that I needed to talk to people when I was in like a speech class. I don't remember what it was called. I mean, I think about it right now, it gets my heart pumping. But I had a speech class, and the kid got up before me, and it was a kid who was of Arab descent, Muslim, and he was talking about certain things, and I was just like this got me all up. And then so I get up to do my speech, and lo and behold, what is my speech over? Air power and modern warfare. And so this kid's sitting right there in front of me, and he's just giving me this evil eye. And I don't have the speech, right? They tell you you can have a piece of paper that has keywords, right? That keyword, it's supposed to, like, you see the keyword, it unlocks the next paragraph for you, right? Well, this kid's looking at me. I look at my keywords, and I don't even see keywords. I just see stupid words there that ain't keying up anything for me. And I'm halfway through the speech, and I'm just like, and I look over at the teacher. I was like, can I like restart, or can I like stop for a minute? She's like, no, you have to keep going. And so somehow I get back on track. I don't even remember the last half, and I just walked out of the class. Like, I didn't even stay. Didn't even say nothing to anybody. Walked out of the class. I left my bag there. I had to go back and get my bag like 2 hours later because I forgot about it. And I went to go talk to like one of the counselors at A&M, and it was actually really good to have somebody to talk to, right? Because I didn't discuss my stuff a lot with anybody. I haven't discussed a lot with him. He barely knows. I've told him a few things. He barely knows maybe a quarter. But it's like, that's the one big thing that when people are getting out is like, if you need to talk to somebody, talk to somebody. Because if you don't, and you try to keep a lot of that stuff in, it's just going to cause you to go downhill. It's not going to be a good look. You'll have a meltdown like I did.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one thing, because there's stuff, like you said, me and you don't even talk to each other about stuff that we we've been through. I mean,
A couple of things,
a couple
here and
things.
there.
I'm hearing, yeah, a couple
But
things, but and our jobs are so different. I mean, and that's where Big John comes in for me. Like, man, I could bounce anything off that dude's head, and uh, one, he's gonna listen to me. Two, I know he's gonna tell me when something's stupid or hey, Joker, you're going 100 miles an hour. Think about what you're gonna do, or he'd just sit there and we can reminisce on a lot of stuff we did, because there does come time when you do need to reminisce. You need to, because I keep telling everybody, like, the smell of diesel. You can smell diesel coming out of a generator, and I know, yeah, both y'all shaking y'all's head, y'all know it takes you right back. And there's times where we work at now, I can, that smell or something will happen and it'll take me right back, put me in a mood that is not very pleasant. And then, I can walk upstairs to where he's at. He can bring me back down to normal level, or he does the opposite. Sometimes he'll ramp me. If it's something that he wants done, he'll ramp me up 100 miles an hour. So I'll go in there and be the bad guy. So he knows how to.
So I told you about this because you know about it, because obviously you're my brother. So in July, I went to Colorado because that was my first duty station, and my unit. So my very first unit was 3rd Squadron, 61st Cavalry Regiment, 361, and it activated the year that I got to it, and so earlier this year they were like, hey, we're deactivating. Anybody who wants to come back, come back. So like it survived my whole career, and we're both officially dead to the Army now. But like going back there, so my first TC, whenever I was a dismount in Iraq, or he was my first TC ever, he was the last command sergeant major of that unit. So I got to see him. My platoon sergeant, he retired as CSM. He was there. My senior scout, who is with 1st Cab right now, is CSM. He was there. My TC from Afghanistan, my first time, and he was also in, like, 95% of that unit stayed together through 2 deployments. If they weren't killed or they didn't get ETS or transferred, 95% of that unit stayed together. So like we went through 2 deployments together, like tons of guys. Like I think there was more old destroyers that showed up at that thing than there were destroyers out on the actual basketball court, because it started raining. And so at a certain point, I mean, we were up there for 3 days. And at a certain point, that the last squadron commander, he was like, all the destroyers, if y'all want to get back with your respective troops, y'all can go ahead and fall in. And it was like just this sea of dudes just coming back. And we're all the beards. I had a beard at that point, just beards, gangly looking dudes, but like you knew them, like those were your boys, like you knew.
Yeah.
And it was, as soon as you saw them, like, I mean, my platoon sergeant, my first platoon sergeant, the retired CSM, a guy by the name of Michael Udell, great dude. And man, I saw him at one of the bars we used to hang out at. And that dude came up and gave me a hug and started crying. I mean, there was so much of it. Like, it's just him, Sergeant Major Egan, who was my first senior scout, Sergeant Major McCready, who was one of my first team leaders, Sergeant Major Ross, who was my first TC, Master Flagel, all these dudes, right? Like they raised me in the Army. Like those are the dudes that I like. When I went back, I told my wife, I'm not nervous about possibly running into my illegitimate children. Like I'm more nervous about disappointing these guys.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a disappointment to them, because they were the ones that raised me and taught me and showed me what it was to be a soldier. And it's like, but also just to see their faces, like, I kid you not, it felt like it wasn't even, 16 years, last time I saw someone.
Yeah.
It was like right back at it. And I love that. Like one of the guys that's in my wedding, Brian Lakey, he's an Oklahoma guy. He lives like 20 minutes from me. So it's like, hey, he was my fister for all 3 deployments. Like we went from Fort Carson to Fort Hood together. So he's 20 minutes away. And so that's awesome. But yeah, dude, you gotta have people to talk to, especially, even if it's not the same MOS, right? Like, yeah, I mean, he was a dirty police officer, MP. I had way too many barracks parties shut down on me, and I really resent it. There were some quality barracks parties, and we got surrounded by like 15 MPs, like MP patrol cars. Like dudes were running. It was in the night I'm discussing. It was 5 different barracks parties in a barracks that was like this shape. And so dudes were running from party to party to not get hemmed up. And I was like, screw this. Like, I'm going to my room. And it was just like, everyone had a good night. Anyway, you suck on that level. But even though he's an MP, and even though I'm a scout, like, they're still in Iraq. We were all just driving around waiting to get blown up. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, there was certain stuff we did. I kicked indoors. I remember just taking the Pioneer kicks. I had the Pioneer kit on my back. I remember taking one of those tools. The door we couldn't get open. And so I just started putting a hole through this old people's wall. I was just like, whatever, I got to get into this room somehow. We were all driving. We were all waiting to get our sphincter holes pushed through the top of our heads here. So like there's that general camaraderie of everybody in Iraq who ever did a convoy patrol. Like we all are like, yep. Route Irish? Yeah, I know Route Irish. Yeah, Route Pluto? Yeah, Route Pluto. Baghdad? All right. Solder City?
Route
Cool.
Tampa?
Yeah. Yeah, Route Tampa. I mean, he was up in Mosul, and I know like stuff happened up there, and it's just there's a general, everybody knows what happened from that generation, but then there's the differences.
Yeah.
But I think, once again, tangent, but people got to talk. Everybody's got to talk.
Well, I think we're gonna wrap this thing up. And before we go, though, do you have any advice for this younger generation? People who might be thinking about joining the Army or military branch of some sort. What advice would you give them, to help them get set up for success?
My thing is, don't join the military if you don't absolutely want to do it. Don't go into it for college. Don't go into it for whatever, because all you're going to do is you're going to end up being miserable. If you want to serve your country, if that is your goal, then join the military. But don't go into it for something else, because you'll only end up being a miserable person who is probably going to put themselves in more situations because they're miserable, right? Like, do it because you love it, not because it's just a job. That's really what it boils down to.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate that, and I just want to, tell you thanks for coming on today, and it's been a real pleasure. Had a blast. It's always fun getting together with you in some shape or form, and
I'll see you next year.
Yeah, see me next year. Yeah, but yeah, no, seriously, thank you, and one thing we've already discussed is, if you guys out there are feeling the need to reach out and talk to somebody, do that. There's resources out there. You can reach out to any one of us on here right now. We would talk to you, I guarantee you. So just remember that we're all brothers and sisters at the end. Big J, what do you got?
I don't have anything. I think that's going to just close it out for us, and I'll just close it out with a hook 'em.
While
you guys are both representing Oklahoma over there.
You told me I was going to be working with the enemy today.
Hey,
Corey,
go ahead.
Corey, really appreciate you joining the show here today. We had a good time here. It was good to get to know you and the relationship you and Cody had growing up.
I absolutely appreciate it. And, I remember meeting you in Hawaii that one time. You brought him in from Guam, so
yeah,
I'm glad that he still has a friend. Normally they all leave him, but he's got one, so I'm happy about that.
So hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time, peace.